Dr. Lisa Parker pushed her glasses up her nose and stared at the old computer screen. The words on the screen made her heart beat faster. She had been working in the Federation archives for 3 years, but she had never seen anything like this. The archive room was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers. Lisa worked alone most days, digging through old records that other people had forgotten. Today was different. Today she found something that could change everything. "Computer, show me file 2287 Alpha 7 again," she said. The screen flickered and showed the old report. It was written in basic human language, the kind they used 100 years ago. Lisa read it slowly, making sure she understood every word. The report was about a human colony ship called the New Hope. In 2287, the ship had been traveling to a new world when something went wrong. Their engines failed. Their food ran out. The people on the ship were going to die. Then the Veltar found them. Lisa had heard of the Veltar before. They were a peaceful alien race that lived far from human space. Most people said they were extinct now. No one had seen them for many years. But 100 years ago, the Veltar had saved the New Hope. They gave the humans food, water, and new engine parts. They asked for nothing in return except one thing. "When you are strong, remember us," the Veltar leader had said. "When the stars align again, we will need your help." The human captain had promised. He shook hands with the alien leader and said, "We will remember. In exactly 100 years, we will come back to help you." Lisa looked at the date on her computer. It was 2387. Exactly 100 years had passed. She printed the report and ran to find Captain Jake Morrison. Jake was the commander of the UES Retribution, one of the best ships in the human fleet. If anyone would listen to her, it would be Jake. She found him in the station's main bar, drinking coffee and reading the news. Jake was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had been in space for 20 years and had seen many strange things. "Captain Morrison," Lisa said, sitting down next to him, "I need to show you something important." Jake looked up from his news tablet. "What is it, Doc?" Lisa spread the old report on the table. 100 years ago, humans made a promise. We said we would help the Veltar when they needed us. That time is now. Jake read the report carefully. His face grew serious as he read. When he finished, he looked at Lisa with surprise. "The Veltar are extinct," he said. "Everyone knows that. They disappeared 50 years ago." "That's what people think," Lisa said. "But what if they're not all gone? What if some of them are still alive, waiting for us to keep our promise?" Jake shook his head. "Even if they are alive, how would we find them? Their home world is in the void sector. That's dangerous space. Ships that go there don't come back." "We have to try," Lisa said. "A promise is a promise. It doesn't matter if it's hard or dangerous." Jake was quiet for a long time. He looked at the report again, then at Lisa. "Why does this matter to you so much?" Lisa took a deep breath. "Because I study history. I know how important promises are. When humans first came to space, we were weak and scared. Other alien races could have destroyed us easily, but some of them helped us instead. They gave us chances to grow strong." She pointed to the report. "The Veltar were one of those races. They helped us when we needed it most. If we forget about them now, what does that say about us?" Jake nodded slowly. "You're right. A promise is a promise." He stood up and put on his captain's hat. "I'll talk to my crew. If they agree, we'll go look for the Veltar." The next morning, Jake called his crew together on the UES Retribution. Lieutenant Commander Rick Stone was there, along with Chief Engineer Amy Walsh and Navigator Sam Blake. They were good people who had served with Jake for many years, Jake told them about the promise and showed them the old report. He explained that the mission would be dangerous and that the Federation might not approve. So what do you think? Jake asked when he finished. Rick spoke first. I think we should go. Humans keep their promises. That's what makes us different from other species. Amy nodded. My grandmother always said that your word is the most important thing you have. If you break it, you have nothing. Sam was younger than the others, but he had strong opinions. The void sector is dangerous, but we're good at what we do. We can make it. Jake smiled. Then it's decided? We leave tomorrow morning. That night, Lisa packed her research notes and prepared for the journey. She thought about the Veltar and wondered if they were still alive. She hoped they were. She hoped that somewhere in the darkness of space, someone was waiting for humans to keep their promise. The next morning, the UES Retribution left New Geneva Station. As they flew into deep space, Jake made an announcement to the crew. We're going to find the Veltar, he said. We're going to keep a promise that humans made 100 years ago. Other species might think we're crazy, but we know better. We know that keeping promises is what makes us human. The ship flew toward the void sector, carrying 5 humans who believed that some things were more important than safety. They carried hope, determination, and the weight of a 100-year-old promise. Behind them, the lights of human space grew smaller and smaller. Ahead of them lay the unknown, where answers waited in the darkness. The UES Retribution had been flying for 5 days when the first trouble started. Jake Morrison sat in his captain's chair, watching the stars move past the ship's windows. They were still 3 weeks away from the void sector, but already things were getting complicated. Captain, Rick Stone said, walking onto the bridge, we're getting a message from Federation Command. They want to talk to you. Jake sighed. He had been expecting this call. Put it on screen. The main screen flickered and showed Admiral Kate Sullivan. She was Jake's old teacher and friend, but today she looked worried and angry. Jake, what do you think you're doing? She asked. I just got a report that you left Federation space without permission. Command is very upset. Hello, Kate, Jake said calmly. I'm keeping a promise. A promise to dead aliens? Kate shook her head. The Veltar are gone, Jake. They have been for 50 years. You're wasting time and resources on a fool's mission. Maybe, Jake said, but it's the right thing to do. Kate's face grew softer. Look, I understand why you're doing this. You're a good man with a good heart. But the Federation Council is already talking about stopping you. They might send ships to bring you back. Let them try, Jake said. We're not doing anything wrong. After the call ended, Jake went to find Dr. Lisa Parker. She was in her small office, surrounded by old books and computer screens. She looked up when Jake walked in. Bad news? She asked. The Federation isn't happy with us, Jake said. They think we're crazy. Lisa nodded. I've been doing more research. I think I know why the Federation doesn't want us to find the Veltar. She turned her computer screen toward Jake. It showed dozens of old reports, all written in the same simple language as the first one. The Veltar didn't just help the New Hope, Lisa said. They helped many human ships. Look at this. Jake read the reports. Each one told the same story. Human ships in trouble. Veltar coming to help. Humans making promises to repay the debt someday. There were 23 different reports, all from the early days of human space travel. They saved thousands of human lives, Lisa said quietly. Without the Veltar, humans might never have spread across the galaxy. We owe them everything. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Does the Federation know about this? Some people do, Lisa said, but they buried the information. They didn't want other alien species to know how much humans needed help in the early days. Before Jake could answer, The ship's alarm started ringing. Rick's voice came over the speakers. "Captain to the bridge. We have company." Jake and Lisa hurried to the bridge. On the main screen, they could see 3 large ships. They were sleek and dangerous looking, with weapons that glowed in the darkness. "Zephyrian Empire ships," Amy Walsh said from her engineering station. "They're demanding that we stop." The Zephyrians were a proud warrior race. They controlled a large part of the galaxy and didn't like humans very much. They thought humans were weak and foolish. "Put them on screen," Jake ordered. The screen showed a Zephyrian commander. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and yellow eyes. When he spoke, his voice was cold and mocking. "Human ship, you are traveling through our space," the commander said. "State your business." "We're on a peaceful mission," Jake replied. "We're looking for the Veltar homeworld." The Zephyrian commander laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "The Veltar are dead human. They have been dead for decades. Only a fool would waste time looking for ghosts." "Maybe," Jake said. "But we made a promise to them. We intend to keep it." "Promises to the dead are meaningless," the commander said. "This is why humans will never be strong. You care too much about things that don't matter." "Caring is what makes us human," Jake said. "If you don't understand that, then you don't understand humans at all." The Zephyrian commander's eyes grew angry. "You are weak, human. Your species is weak. The galaxy would be better without you." "Maybe," Jake said again, "but we're still here, and we're still keeping our promises." The 3 Zephyrian ships followed the UES Retribution for 2 days, watching and waiting. They didn't attack, but they made it clear that they thought the human mission was stupid and pointless. On the 3rd day, the Zephyrians finally left, but before they went, the commander sent one last message. "When you die in the void sector, human, remember that we warned you. No one will mourn for fools who chase ghosts." After the Zephyrians left, the crew of the UE's Retribution felt lonely and small. They were far from home, heading toward one of the most dangerous places in the galaxy. Other species thought they were crazy. Even their own government wanted them to turn back, but they kept flying toward the void sector. Dr. Ben Carter joined the crew 2 weeks later. He was a scientist who studied alien biology, and he knew more about the Veltar than anyone else in human space. He had been working on another ship, but when he heard about Jake's mission, he asked to come along. "I've been studying Veltar remains for 10 years, he told Jake. "They were an amazing species, very advanced, very peaceful. They could have conquered the galaxy if they wanted to, but they chose to help others instead." "What happened to them?" Jake asked. Ben shook his head sadly. "No one knows for sure. They just started disappearing 50 years ago. Their colonies went silent one by one. Most people think they died from some kind of disease. But you don't think so?" "I think they might have gone into hiding," Ben said. "The Veltar were very good at hiding when they needed to. Maybe they're still out there, waiting for the right time to come back." As they got closer to the void sector, the crew began to feel the weight of their mission. They were carrying the hopes of every human who had ever been helped by the Veltar. They were carrying a 100-year-old promise that no one else remembered. Lisa spent her days reading old reports and trying to piece together the full story of human-Veltar relations. What she found amazed her. The Veltar had been watching humans for a long time, even before they made contact. They had seen something special in the human species, something worth protecting and helping. "They believed in us," Lisa told Jake one evening as they sat in the ship's small dining room. "When everyone else in the galaxy thought humans were just another primitive species, the Veltar saw our potential. And now we're the only ones who remember them," Jake said. "That's what makes this so important," Lisa replied. "If we forget about the Veltar, If we let their memory die, then we're not worthy of their faith in us. Jake nodded. He understood now why this mission mattered so much. It wasn't just about keeping a promise. It was about proving that humans were the kind of species the Veltar had believed they could become. The UES Retribution flew on through the darkness, carrying 5 humans who refused to let the galaxy forget about kindness, sacrifice, and the power of keeping promises. They didn't know what they would find in the void sector, but they knew they had to try. Behind them, the civilized galaxy continued its daily business, dismissing the human mission as foolish and pointless. But the crew of the UE's Retribution knew better. They knew that some things were more important than safety or profit or the opinions of others. They knew that promises mattered, even promises made to ghosts. The UES Retribution dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Veltar home system. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, looking at the main screen with a heavy heart. The system that had once been home to billions of Veltar was now called the Silent Reaches by other species. It looked dead. Sensors are picking up the Veltar homeworld, Sam Blake reported from his navigation station. It's the 3rd planet from the star. But Captain, the star is dying. It's giving off very little light can heat. Jake nodded grimly. Any signs of life? None that I can detect, Sam said. But there are ships in the system, 3 of them, orbiting the planet. Not Veltar ships, Rick Stone added, studying his tactical display. They look like scavenger vessels. Someone's been stripping the planet for valuable materials. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. The Veltar homeworld should be treated with respect, not picked clean by treasure hunters. Hail those ships. The main screen flickered and showed a human woman with short brown hair and hard eyes. She was sitting in what looked like a ship's command center, surrounded by containers full of alien technology. This is Captain Nia Ross, of the salvage vessel Lucky Strike, she said. You're in open space, so I can't tell you to leave, but I can tell you there's nothing here worth your time. I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the UES Retribution, Jake replied. We're here on a diplomatic mission. Nina laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Diplomatic mission? To who? Everyone here is dead, Captain. Has been for 50 years. We're just cleaning up the leftovers. Those leftovers were once people's homes, Jake said coldly. They deserve respect. Respect doesn't pay the bills, Nina replied. Look, I don't know what fairy tale brought you all the way out here, but you're wasting your time. The Veltar are gone. All that's left is empty buildings and old machines. Jake cut the connection and turned to his crew. Take us down to the Suze planet. We're going to look for ourselves. The UE's Retribution landed near what had once been a great Veltar city. From the ship's windows, the crew could see tall buildings that looked like they were made of crystal and metal. But the buildings were dark and empty, and dust covered everything. Jake, Lisa, Rick, and Ben put on their spacesuits and walked out onto the planet's surface. The air was thin and cold, barely breathable. The dying star above gave just enough light to see by, but everything looked gray and lifeless. It's so quiet, Lisa whispered over the radio. I can feel the sadness. In this place, they walked through the empty streets, looking at the beautiful architecture that the Veltar had left behind. The buildings were designed to look like living things, with curved walls and flowing lines. It was clear that the Veltar had been artists as well as scientists. Look at this, Ben said, stopping at a large building that might have been a library or school. The Veltar didn't just build cities. They built works of art. As they explored, they found evidence of the Veltar's peaceful nature. There were no weapons, no military buildings, no signs of conflict. The Veltar had built a civilization based on knowledge, art, and helping others. How could a species like this just disappear? Rick asked. Maybe they didn't, said a voice behind them. The crew spun around and saw a figure standing in the shadows of a building. It was tall and thin, like the Veltar in the old records, but it seemed to be made of light and energy instead of flesh. And blood. Who are you? Jake asked, his hand moving to his weapon. I am Ghost, the figure said. I am what remains of the Veltar. I am memory made manifest, the echo of a dying species. Lisa stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. You're an artificial intelligence, aren't you? A computer program that contains Veltar memories? I am more than that, Ghost replied. I am the last keeper of Veltar knowledge. I have been waiting for someone to come. I have been waiting for you. For us? Jake asked. How did you know we would come? Because humans keep their promises, Ghost said simply. The Veltar always believed that. Even when they were dying, they believed that humans would remember them. Ghost led them through the city to a building that looked different from the others. It was smaller and more heavily protected, with walls that seemed to glow with their own inner light. This is the Memory House, Ghost explained. It contains the history of my people and the story of our end. Inside the building, the walls were covered with images and symbols that told the story of the Veltar. Jake and his crew saw pictures of the Veltar helping other species, including humans. They saw images of the Veltar's beautiful homeworld, when it was alive and green. We were gardeners of the galaxy, Ghost said sadly. We helped young species grow and learn. We gave them the tools they needed to survive and thrive. What happened to you? Lisa asked gently. Ghost's form flickered, with what might have been grief. Our star began to die faster than we expected. The radiation it gave off slowly poisoned our world. We tried to save ourselves, but we were too few and too late. All of you? Ben asked. Not all, Ghost said, and for the first time, its voice carried hope. Come, there is someone you must meet. Ghost led them deeper into the building, down corridors that seemed to stretch on forever. Finally, they reached a chamber filled with strange machines and glowing tubes. In the center of the chamber was a large cylinder filled with blue liquid. Inside the cylinder floated a figure that looked like the Veltar from the old records, but smaller and more fragile. This is Elder Kethvok, Ghost said. He is the last of my people. He has been sleeping for 50 years, waiting for the humans to return. Jake stared at the sleeping figure in amazement. He's alive. Barely. Ghost sighed. The life support systems are failing. He has perhaps days left, maybe hours. I have kept him alive as long as I could, but my power is limited. Lisa moved closer to the cylinder, studying the machines that kept the Elder alive. This technology is incredible. It's like nothing I've ever seen. The Veltar were masters of life and energy, Ghost explained. But even our greatest technology cannot fight death forever. Jake felt the weight of 100 years pressing down on him. They had come so far, traveled through so much danger, only to find that they might be too late. Is there anything we can do? He asked. Ghost was quiet for a long moment. Perhaps, but it would require a great sacrifice. The only way to save Elder Kethvak is to restore power to this world. To do that, we would need to reignite the star. Can that be done? Rick asked. Yes, Ghost said, but it would require channeling the power of an entire starship into the stellar revival systems. The ship would be destroyed, and everyone on it would die. The chamber fell silent as the humans absorbed this information. They had come to honor a promise, but now they faced an impossible choice. They could save the last Veltar, but only by sacrificing themselves. Jake looked at his crew. Rick, who had served with him for 10 years. Lisa, who had discovered the promise in the first place. Ben, who had joined them because he believed in their mission. They were good people, and they deserved to live. But Elder Kethvok deserved to live too. He had waited 50 years for humans to keep their promise. He had survived when all his people died, believing that humans would come back for him. How long do we have to decide? Jake asked. Not long, Ghost said. The elders. Life signs are weakening. If we're going to save him, we must act soon. Jake nodded. Give us some time to think. As they walked back through the empty city, each member of the crew was lost in their own thoughts. They had come to honor a promise, but they had not expected to pay such a high price. The question that haunted them all was simple. What were they willing to sacrifice to keep their word? Above them, the dying star continued its slow fade toward darkness, counting down the last hours of the last Veltar. And somewhere in the silent reaches, the future of two species hung in the balance. Jake Morrison sat alone in his cabin, staring at a photo of his sister and her children back on Earth. The photo was old and worn from years of space travel, but it reminded him of home and the life he might never see again. A soft knock at his door broke his thoughts. Come in. Dr. Lisa Parker entered, carrying a cup of coffee and looking tired. Can't sleep either? No, Jake said, gesturing for her to sit down. How can I? We have to decide whether to sacrifice ourselves to save someone we've never met. Lisa sat down across from him. I've been thinking about that. About what the Veltar did for us 100 years ago. They didn't know the humans on the New Hope either, but they risked everything to save them. That's different, Jake said. They weren't asked to die for us. Weren't they? Lisa asked. Ghost told us the Veltar spent 50 years of their lives helping other species instead of focusing on their own survival. They could have used that time to save themselves, but they chose to help others instead. Jake was quiet for a moment. You think we should do it? I think we should do what humans do, Lisa said. Keep our promises, no matter what it costs. Before Jake could reply, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Rick's voice came through the speakers. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from outside the system. It's a Federation fleet, and they're demanding that we surrender. Jake and Lisa hurried to the bridge. On the main screen, they could see 6 Federation ships approaching the system. They were military vessels, armed and dangerous. Put them on screen, Jake ordered. The screen showed a man in a Federation uniform. He was tall and stern with cold eyes and a permanent frown. Jake recognized him immediately. Captain Alex Turner, Jake said. I should have known they'd send you. Jake Morrison, Turner replied. You're under arrest for unauthorized military action in violation of Federation space law. Surrender immediately, or we will use force. We're not in Federation space, Jake said. We're in the Void Sector. You have no authority here. I have authority wherever I find Federation citizens breaking the law, Turner said. You've caused enough embarrassment to humanity. It's time to come home. We're not done here, Jake said. We have a mission to complete. Turner's face grew angry. Your mission is meaningless. You're chasing ghosts and wasting resources that could be used to help living people. The Veltar are dead, Morrison. Let them stay dead. The Veltar aren't all dead, Jake said. There's still one alive, and he's been waiting 50 years for us to keep our promise. One alien, Turner said with disgust. You're willing to risk a Federation starship for one alien who should have died decades ago. Yes, Jake said simply. That's exactly what we're willing to do. Turner cut the connection, and his ships moved closer to the system. Jake knew they had very little time before the Federation would try to stop them by force. Captain, Amy Walsh said from her engineering station, I've been studying the stellar revival systems that Ghost showed us. I think I understand how they work, Can we use them? Jake asked. Yes, Amy said. But it will require channeling all our ship's power into the Veltar machines. The process will overload our engines and destroy the ship. Is there any other way? Amy shook her head. I'm sorry, Captain. If we want to save Elder Kethvok, this is the only option. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. These were good people who had followed him across the galaxy, based on nothing but faith in an old promise. They deserved to know what they were facing. Listen, everyone, Jake said. We have a choice to make. We can surrender to Turner's fleet and go home safe. Or we can try to save the last Veltar, knowing that it will cost us our lives. The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Then Rick spoke up. I've been thinking about something Ghost said. The Veltar believed that humans would keep their promises. Even when they were dying, they had faith in us. That's a lot of pressure, Sam said quietly. It's also a lot of trust, Rick replied. They trusted us to be better than other species. They trusted us to do the right thing, even when it was hard. Ben nodded. The Veltar spent their lives helping others. They never asked for anything in return, except the promise that they would be remembered. If we give up now, we're telling the galaxy that human promises don't mean anything. But what about our families? Sam asked. What about the people who love us and want us to come home? Lisa stood up from her station. My parents died when I was young. I don't have anyone waiting for me back home. But I've spent my whole life studying history, and I know that the most important moments are when people choose to do the right thing, even when it costs them everything. Amy looked up from her engineering console. My husband died in a ship accident 3 years ago. I've been trying to find meaning in my life ever since. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is why I'm here. Jake felt pride swell in his chest. His crew was made up of heroes, even if they didn't know it yet. What about you, Captain? Rick asked. What do you want to do? Jake thought about his sister and her children. He thought about the life he could have. He went home. Then he thought about Elder Kethvok sleeping alone in the darkness, waiting for humans to keep their word. I want to be worthy of the Veltar's faith in us, Jake said. I want to prove that humans are the kind of species they believed we could become. Before anyone could respond, the ship's alarm started ringing. On the main screen, they could see Turner's ships entering the system. They're powering up weapons, Rick reported. They're not bluffing. Then neither are we, Jake said. He opened a channel to the Federation fleet. Turner, this is Morrison. We're going to complete our mission. Try to stop us if you can. Turner's voice came back immediately. You're committing suicide, Morrison. I won't let you throw away Federation lives for a meaningless gesture. It's not meaningless, Jake said. It's the most meaningful thing we'll ever do. The Federation ships moved to intercept the UES Retribution, but Jake had one advantage. He knew the system better than they did. He had spent days studying the Veltar homeworld and its surrounding space. Sam, plot a course through the asteroid. Field, Jake ordered. Amy, prepare to transfer all power to the stellar revival systems. Captain, Rick said, if we do this, there's no going back. I know, Jake said, but some things are more important than going back. The UES Retribution dove toward the Veltar homeworld, with the Federation fleet close behind. As they flew, Jake thought about the choice they were making. They were choosing to honor a promise over their own lives. They were choosing to be the kind of humans the Veltar had believed in. In the distance, a dying star flickered weakly, waiting for someone to give it new life. And in a chamber, deep beneath the planet's surface, Elder Kethvak slept on, dreaming of the day when humans would return to keep their word. The moment of truth was coming, and Jake Morrison was ready to face it. He was ready to show the galaxy what human promises really meant. The UES Retribution raced through the asteroid field around the Veltar homeworld, dodging rocks and debris while Captain Turner's fleet pursued them. Jake Morrison gripped his command chair as the ship shook from near misses with floating chunks of stone. "They're gaining on us," Rick Stone reported from his tactical station. "Turner's ships are faster than ours." "How much longer until we reach the planet?" Jake asked. 3 minutes, Sam Blake answered from navigation. "But Captain, the Federation ships will catch us before we can land." Jake was about to order evasive maneuvers when something unexpected happened. The lead Federation ship suddenly slowed down and fell behind the others. "What's happening?" Jake asked. Rick studied his sensors carefully. "I'm reading internal communications from Turner's fleet. It sounds like one of his captains is refusing to follow orders." On the main screen, they could see the Federation ships breaking formation. One ship was moving away from the others, while 2 more seemed to be having problems with their engines. "This is Captain Helen Brooks of the UES Defender," came a voice over the radio. "Captain Morrison, I'm here to help you complete your mission." Jake stared at the screen in surprise. "Captain Brooks, what are you doing here?" "I've been following your mission from the beginning," Brooks replied. "When I heard what you were trying to do, I convinced my crew to join you. We believe in keeping promises, too." "You're making a mistake, Brooks." Turner's voice cut in angrily. "Stand down immediately." "No, sir," Brooks said calmly. "I'm making a choice. We're all making a choice." One by one, the other Federation ships began to declare their intentions. Captain Dan Wright of the UES Courage announced that his crew had voted to support the mission. Captain Sarah Kim of the UES Freedom said her ship would protect the UES Retribution from interference. By the time the small fleet reached the Veltar homeworld, only Turner's ship was still trying to stop them. The other 5 ships had formed a protective circle around the UES Retribution. "This is mutiny," Turner shouted over the radio. "You're all going to face court-martial for this." "Maybe," Captain Brooks replied. "But we'll face it knowing we did the right thing." Jake felt tears in his eyes as he watched the Federation ships take defensive positions. He had expected to face this moment alone, but other humans had chosen to stand with him. "All ships, this is Morrison," Jake said over the radio. "What we're about to do will require all our ships working together. We need to channel every bit of power we have into the stellar revival systems." "Understood," Captain Brooks replied. "All ships, prepare to link power systems." The UES Retribution landed near the memory house where Elder Kethvak waited in his sleeping chamber. Jake and his crew rushed to find Ghost, who was waiting for them with growing urgency. "The Elder's life signs are very weak," Ghost said. "We must act now or lose him forever." Amy Walsh and the other engineers from all 6 ships worked together to connect their power systems to the ancient Veltar machines. It was dangerous work that required perfect timing and coordination. "Ghost, will this really work?" Jake asked, as they prepared the final connections. "The Veltar designed these systems to restore dying stars," Ghost replied. "But they were never tested on a star this far gone. We are attempting something that has never been done before." Jake nodded. "Then it's a good thing humans are good at doing impossible things." As the engineers made the final preparations, news of what was happening spread across the galaxy. The story of humans trying to keep a 100-year-old promise to an extinct species captured the imagination of many different alien races. On the bridge of the UES Retribution, Jake opened communication channels to all the ships in the fleet. "This is Captain Morrison to all ships. In a few minutes, we're going to channel all our power into the Veltar stellar revival systems. Our ships will be destroyed, but we will have kept humanity's promise. No regrets, Captain," came Captain Brooks' voice. "None at all," added Captain Wright. It's been an honor serving with you all, said Captain Kim. Jake felt a deep sense of pride in his species. 6 ships and their crews were about to sacrifice everything to save one alien who had been sleeping for 50 years. Other species might call it foolish, but Jake knew it was what made humans special. Amy, begin the power transfer, Jake ordered. The ship's engines roared to life as every bit of energy they could produce flowed into the ancient Veltar machines. The machines began to glow brighter and brighter, creating a beam of pure energy that shot up toward the dying star. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The star continued its weak flickering, unchanged by the massive amount of energy hitting it. Jake began to worry that they had failed. Then, slowly, the star began to change. Its dim light grew brighter. The weak flickering became a steady glow. The beam of energy from the planet was feeding the star, giving it new life. "It's working," Amy shouted over the noise of the overloading engines. "The star is responding." In the memory house, Alder Kethvak's sleeping chamber began to glow with renewed power. The failing life support systems came back online, stronger than ever. The Elder's life signs stabilized and began to improve. "He's waking up," Ghost said, with what sounded like joy. After 50 years, Elder Kethvak is waking up. But the success came at a price. The ship's engines were overloading from the massive power transfer. Alarms rang throughout all 6 vessels as their systems began to fail. "Hull breach on Deck 3, Rick reported. "We're losing structural integrity." "Engine overload in progress," Amy added. "We have maybe 2 minutes before complete failure." Jake watched the star continue to brighten and felt a deep sense of satisfaction. They had done it. They had kept humanity's promise. Then something unexpected happened. Just as the ships were about to be destroyed completely, the star suddenly pulsed with a brilliant flash of light. The energy beam from the planet reversed direction, and power began flowing back into the ships. "What's happening?" Jake asked. Ghost's voice came over the radio, filled with wonder. "Elder Kethvak is awake. He's using the star's renewed energy to save your ships." On the main screen, they could see the star burning brighter than it had in decades. The planet below was already beginning to show signs of new life as warmth, and light returned to the Veltar homeworld. The ship's failing systems began to repair themselves as Veltar. Technology merged with human engineering. Instead of being destroyed, the vessels were being improved and strengthened. "This is impossible," Amy said, staring at her engineering displays. "Our engines are working better than they ever have. It's like the Veltar technology is upgrading our ships." A new voice came over the radio, speaking in accented but clear human language. "Greetings, humans. I am Elder Kethvak. I have been waiting so long to speak with you." Jake felt his heart racing. "Elder Kethvak, we came to honor our promise. We're sorry it took us so long." "You are not late," the Elder said gently. "You are exactly on time. The Veltar always knew that humans would come when the time was right." Over the following hours, Elder Kethvak used the restored star's power to begin rebuilding Veltar civilization. Ancient machines came back to life. Dead cities began to glow with renewed energy. Plants and animals that had been sleeping in hidden chambers began to wake up, but the Elder's first gift was to the humans who had saved him. Using advanced Veltar technology, he shared knowledge that would help humanity for generations to come. Clean energy, advanced medicine, and star charts showing the locations of uninhabited worlds, perfect for human colonies. "This is our debt to you," Elder Kethvak explained. "You kept your promise when no one else would have. You proved that humans are worthy of the faith we placed in you." When the news reached the rest of the galaxy, the reaction was immediate and powerful. The story of 6 human ships sacrificing themselves to save one alien had captured hearts and minds across hundreds of worlds. The Galactic Council formally apologized to humanity for trying to stop the mission. The Zephyrian Empire, which had mocked the humans for caring about the dead, sent envoys to study human culture and philosophy. Captain Turner, who had tried to arrest Jake, requested a transfer to exploration duty so he could learn what it meant to be a true human. 5 years later, the reborn Veltar civilization had become humanity's closest ally in the galaxy. Together, they explored new worlds and helped younger species develop and grow. Jake Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, stood on the bridge of his new ship, the UES Promise Keeper. It was the first vessel built using combined human and Veltar technology, designed specifically for exploration and helping others. "Admiral," his new navigator reported, "we're receiving a distress call from a Nexari colony ship. They're stranded and running out of supplies." Jake smiled. The Nexari were a young species, just beginning to explore space. They reminded him of humans 100 years ago. "Set course for their location," Jake ordered. "Let's go help them." As the UES Promise Keeper changed course toward the stranded ship, Jake thought about the chain of events that had led to this moment. A century ago, the Veltar had helped humans when they needed it most. Now, humans and Veltar together were helping others. "When you are strong, remember us," Elder Kethvak had said when they first met in person. It had become humanity's unofficial motto, carved into monuments across human space. But Jake knew the phrase meant more than just remembering to